Ebooks are available in most public libraries. This is what they'll look like on one of these devices. This presentation is an introduction to ebooks. They're platforms that are e-readers as well. This is for a hypothetical class of grade 5-6 students. The overview of the program, this is the first in a series of lessons to introduce students to digital books and e-resources within public libraries. This is to develop their sense of what is available in the e-world, and it's to supplement the school collection. The learning objectives are this aims to make students aware of the type of devices ebooks can be loaded to. Students will be able to set up software to access this on their devices. It will allow students to know about digital libraries that public libraries are developing and link through to their lifelong learning opportunities if they're using public libraries and digital collections. The overall standards of information literacy I'm using are from the Australian and New Zealand Information Literacy Framework. Standard 1.2. Information literate person understands the purpose, scope and appropriateness of a variety of information sources. Standard 2.4. The information literate person keeps up to date with information sources, information technologies, information access tools and investigate methods. Standard 5.1. The information literate person compares and integrates new understandings with prior knowledge to determine the values added, contradictions or other characteristics of the information. And Standard 6.4. The information literate person legally obtains, stores and disseminates text, data, images or sounds. Okay. Hello everybody. We're going to talk about digital books and collections and the devices that you use to be able to work with them. So I asked everybody who had one of these kind of devices already to bring them in today so we could look at them. Digital books have been published over the last decade overseas. Australia has been able to access these and their platforms over the last several years. Public libraries have bought subscription to e-libraries, so we now have access to those. E-readers. So this section is about some of the e-readers that are available. An e-book can be read on an e-reader, an Android or iOS device or a computer. Here are some examples. This is a Sony e-reader. It has a screen about the size of a paperback. It comes in black and white when you see your cover titles. Normally you're going to see 9 cover shots of titles. You can adjust the font size. You do need to download either Reader for PC or Adobe Digital Editions so that you can transfer the book from computer through to the digital library. Now, these are really good because you can actually transfer borrowed material onto these. This is a Kindle. There are 2 types of Kindles, the black and white Kindle and the colour Kindle called Kindle Fire. The really bright screen is paper white. This is slightly larger than the Sony e-reader. This works pretty much with a company called Amazon, the Amazon Kindle store. You do buy books, there are free ones, but with a Kindle Fire you can get access to apps and the apps will allow you to put library books onto your Kindle. Now with this, once you have downloaded the book on the web page, it goes directly to your Kindle wherever you are in the world, and that's called WhisperSync. Okay, here's an iPod Touch. It can load the apps Overdrive, Kindle and F-Reading, which are all reading apps. Androids will also use these apps as well. Okay, now it's time for us to have a go at looking at the e-readers, seeing how they work, and be able to access different parts of them. So could everybody bring out what sort of device you have, and we're going to show each other what happens with the e-readers. Digital library collections. Public libraries have ebooks if you know where to find them. You go to a library webpage, you're looking for words such as ebooks, e-library or online resources on the main page of our library webpage, and you navigate to those next pages. When you find that, you click on the link and go to the digital library. The first screen you're going to come up against should show you what digital library it is and where you can sign in for your library. This is the Western Australian Public Libraries. So all the public libraries in Western Australia have access to this. You need to be a member of one of the libraries here to be able to access them. So they will show you different categories in fiction, non-fiction, children and teens, fiction and non-fiction as well. You can browse for author, title or subject in the search part. The other way to do it is to scroll down and have a look at the covers. So with a digital library, you will have colour covers show up as part of the book. Then when you click on one of the books, it will give you more information, including a blurb about the book and whether you can borrow the book or whether you need to reserve it. Now these books come in 3 types of forms: overdrive read, EPUB or browse. So Overdrive is an American company that supplies library catalogues and digital collection platforms to many libraries around the world. It's very common, as you're going to see. All Western Australian public libraries have a link to this Overdrive account. If you belong to the library, you can borrow. If you download one of the books onto one device, then you can usually only browse with internet on the other. So when you go to your account, your books turn up and it will give you a link to say download, type of format or browse. This is the Melton Library. Melton Library have Overdrive collection as well. They also have Wheeler's ebooks. So libraries can purchase different library data depending on what they're interested in. Wheeler's has a different setup to their categories, and if you break that down, say for fiction, they break it down into different types of genre categories. Can anyone remember what the word genre means? Yes, it's things like saying horror or war or adventure, if you want to break down the information further. This is Melbourne Library Service. Melbourne Library Service has Overdrive but also a company called F Reading. F Reading is independent publishers and back titles that may have only had one print run. So their categories look different again. When you see the covers at the bottom of a screen, it will break down a category into different types of area. So this picture here is of comics, and it gives you the different types of areas that can be covered with the comic books. Alright, so now we're going to do today's task. I want you to be able to log on to these 3 sites and complete the worksheet that I'm handing out now. When we've finished, we're going to come back and go over the answers and discuss the ideas. Now, is anyone here interested in exploring being able to borrow from the digital libraries? We need to pick Western Australia at the moment because we are in Western Australia, and I'm going to go through some of the processes with you guys about what you need to do and how you can set up these processes. You need membership to a public library and a card, so you have the number. You're going to need an email account. You also need permission to set up an Adobe account. And the reason for that is when you get apps on a device, you need an Adobe account and an email account as well before it will let you open up the apps. The following page will give you some handy videos in how to download an EPUB on a computer, get the apps, and set up an Adobe account. The final thing you're going to need is have a device to put your ebooks on. Okay, so I'm going to give you the link to this presentation. I can also show you this on the board, but I want this to be an individual thing. You can look through these videos and find out how to work with this. So we have how to set up an Adobe account, how to download an ebook, and also the apps you need for your Apple or Android device. That is the conclusion of the lesson. Students would complete these sheets and we would have a discussion about what they've found. The idea behind this is to allow students to know what's available in the digital world beyond the school library. This should be able to supplement the resources of a school library. This lesson would lead on to learning about the e-resources, so the non-fiction resources that public libraries have. The lesson can show students how public libraries can have different collections, and they would notice that through the process of the lesson that different libraries have different digital collections the same as they have physical ones. It will also hopefully get them in considering digital collections in the future. These are the libraries I used: Fremantle City Library, Melbourne Library Service, Melton Library Service, Western Australian Digital Library. Thank you.